Hello, and thank you for visiting Raskob Kambourian's website today. I want to talk to you a little bit about what you need to know about retirement. Retirement requires a big change in mindset when you go from working for most of your life to retirement, and that mindset change is one from accumulating and saving money to spending. Another thing that's very important before you retire is having a plan for what you want to do in retirement. A lot of people have told us that they retire and then they find that they don't know what to do. So it's always good to find out and sit down, write down things of what you really haven't had the time to do and would like to do. So when we consider retirement, we look at three major factors, and those would be your resources and income, and your expenses, and the goals that you may have and want to accomplish in retirement. So your income when you first retire may be dramatically reduced. This is usually because Social Security and pensions do not usually match what you were earning while you were working. So unless you have other sources of income that you've accumulated, such as retirement plans that you can draw from, your income may be reduced quite a bit. And if your income is reduced quite a bit, then usually you'll have to reduce your expenses by the same amount, just so that you can not spend down any other assets that you may have, and you'll still be able to accomplish things that you want to. This is also a hard transition to make if you do need to reduce expenses, because it can change your lifestyle in retirement. As part of our retirement planning process, we use a lot of tools to help you plan. What we do is we use software that takes into account the income, your assets that you've accumulated, which can be in investment accounts or other assets that can be turned into income, sometimes even your home. Then we factor in the expenses, and those can be current expenses and then planned expenses in retirement. And then, of course, in conjunction with those two, we want to plan for what goals you want to accomplish. When we consider your current sources of income, what we're looking at is not only your assets, possible Social Security and pensions or other income streams, but we also want to look at things that could possibly be turned into income also. One of the first things we consider, and some of the tools that we use, is to help you determine when to take Social Security and what that amount will be. If you have saved assets, sometimes you can postpone when you take Social Security, and that will give you a larger amount of income in the future. But some people prefer to take Social Security at their earliest possible age, and sometimes they need to. We also look at pensions. Pensions can be either from a company, or they can be from the state, or they can be federal pensions, depending on what your career was and where you worked. And then we look at the investments, how much you have saved, what you have in possible inheritance, and any other assets. And sometimes we look at assets that can be turned into income. If you have rental properties, if you have a home that has a lot of equity, those can possibly be used, if needed, for income also. One of the things that when we're looking at your assets, we may determine if you need more income from your current assets, and those can be reallocated so that you are earning more in dividends, so that you have a better income stream in retirement. And then we also look at your age. If you have reached 70 and 1/2 or close, you may have to start taking required minimum withdrawals from IRAs. When you leave businesses, you usually roll a 401k or a 403b or other retirement qualified accounts into an IRA, and then you have better control over those. You can allocate them so that they work the best for you, for your needs for growth and or income. Sometimes if you need to supplement pensions and Social Security, you will want to take periodic or regular withdrawals from assets. Then we see if there are other sources such as annuities or rental properties or partnerships that are providing income. So those are the types of income that we analyze when we're looking at retirement. The next thing that offsets income, of course, are expenses. We want to look at what your current expenses are if you are pre-retirement or just about to enter retirement, and what those expenses will look like in retirement. Some expenses will be reduced just from the fact that you are no longer working. Some things that people talk about is their dry cleaning bills are no longer necessary. Gasoline is less unless they are doing something where they are volunteering or driving somewhere every day. Lunch expenses, if you eat lunch at business, those at your business, those usually decrease unless you have been taking your lunch. Clothing costs usually reduce because you don't have to buy as many clothes. And then one of the things that will probably also reduce when you turn 65 are your healthcare expenses. But in the meantime, those will probably increase. When you plan to retire, or you usually are working and have a healthcare plan, and that is usually partially paid for by the company. But when you retire, you have to cover those medical expenses and healthcare plans yourself, and that usually increases your expenses in that area. That can be quite a dramatic increase, so that's one thing that we always look at to see if that is working with your income and what your plan goals are. When you reach the age of 65 and go on Medicare, usually those medical healthcare plan expenses reduce again. Some of the other things that may increase in expenses when you retire are planned trips or vacations, and possibly groceries. If you were purchasing meals out when you were working and you start eating at home all the time, then groceries usually go up. I did mention gasoline, but sometimes people, in order to have things to do in their retirement, start doing volunteer work. That usually requires them to travel, so gasoline is not always a factor. After we look at your income and your expenses, we want to plan for your goals, and a lot of those goals can be trips, it can be gifts to family, it can be helping children or grandchildren with college expenses. A lot of people also become more philanthropic and want to look at charitable giving. So what we do is we use all of our tools, and that's all in concert with looking at your risk tolerance, the goals, time horizon, and we determine how well your money will work for you and last throughout your lifetime with accomplishing your goals, with working within the constraints of your income and your expenses. Thank you.